Hey, welcome to the channel. All right, so today I'm talking all things intermittent fasting. This video is for you if you struggle with binge eating, emotional eating, or overeating, and you are wondering, is intermittent fasting right for me? And is this going to be something that supports me on my journey to getting to the weight I want to be, the health I want to be, or just healing my relationship with food? And I am going to talk all about that right now. So please know that as I'm teaching on this is coming from my own struggle and my own journey with this stuff and trying fasting numerous times. This is coming from the impact I see on fasting in people's lives around me regularly. And this has also come from coaching very intimately over 3,000 women who have tried all kinds of diets, many who have advocated for intermittent fasting for health purposes or mental clarity or whatever that might be. And so I've seen a lot, and then I've also studied a lot. So this is a very loaded opinion I have, backed by a lot of science, data, research, personal experience, and just coaching a lot of people through this stuff. It is a very common thing that people like to do. So for those of you who might not be familiar with fasting, basically it typically looks like having a designated eating window throughout the day, typically 8 hours or so. So an average schedule of someone who's an intermittent faster will not eat till noon. So they'll not eat in the morning. They'll eat from noon to 8 p.m., let's say, and then they're done. So they only have an 8-hour eating window. In the fasting community, sometimes it's encouraged to get the eating windows smaller and smaller. So, then you'll see people wait till 2 or 3 or even do 1 meal a day. And for many binge eaters or people that like large quantity of foods, this can be really appealing because you feel like you can stack all your calories in a short window, right? And then you get that really satiated feeling and that really full feeling that a lot of people who struggle with binge eating really, really like. So I remember when I found out about fasting, this felt like a dream for me. This felt like, oh my goodness, I can eat all my calories in 2 sittings and get these big meals in and feel really good. But I quickly learned that fasting actually contributed and made my struggle with binge eating and overeating way worse, which I'll talk about why in a second. So I just want to say I get it. I see why it's appealing and I see why people gravitate towards this plan. There's also been a lot of science out about how it supports your body to have fasting breaks, how it supports your body to have that break in the morning to heal and digest and release things and all the things. I'm not going to go into all the science around the benefits. I just want to let you know that I'm not ignoring the science. I know the science very well. So here's what I've found. Most likely, most people who watch this channel are women. You could be a man, but I'm going to speak for women. Fasting and operating on an empty stomach is typically very, very hard on the hormonal, adrenal, and thyroid systems. They all kind of work together for a woman. For any person, man or woman, especially if you live a high stress, high demand lifestyle and you have any remnants of adrenal fatigue, typically the part of the day that's very tough when someone struggles with managing stress or their body has a difficult time managing stress, which is adrenal fatigue, typically the rough time of day is the morning. So what really helps bodies heal from this and helps bodies able to manage stress without getting in the stress response, which I'm going to tell you what that does to your body here in a second, is fueling yourself, having meals that leave you feeling really satiated. So when your body is pulling from its fuel reserves, there is a myth that it's always pulling from fat reserves, and that's just not true. Does it sometimes pull from fat reserves? Sure, but there's other factors that have to be in place. A lot of times it just puts a harder demand on your adrenals and so forth, especially if you're doing a hard workout on an empty stomach. This can be really, really taxing for the body. So even though you might feel the benefits of mental clarity and feel the benefits of all of this energy, long term, it can be really negatively impacting your body's ability to manage stress, your body's energy output, and the adrenal hormonal balance of your body. So that is just something to kind of consider on a more chronic long-term level. Now, there's another really interesting thing this does. So if fasting for you puts your body in a stress response, Stress response over time actually makes it more difficult to lose weight. When the body's not getting what it needs, or when the body is operating in a way that's very taxing to its adrenal system, it almost puts your body in a state of fight or flight. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that does fasting is in a state of fight or flight. I don't think that's the case. But honestly, most humans are, given our environment and our lack of commitment to managing our stress appropriately. And so being in a stress response does things like slow down your metabolism, mess up your digestion. So when you do eat, your body doesn't assimilate the nutrients as much, which leads to more cravings. And then here's the biggest thing that I see for a binge eater or an overeater, right? I'm gonna use the word binge even if you don't have huge binges. And when I say that, I just mean you have a compulsive tendency to food and a tendency to want to eat a lot or a tendency to want to feel really full. And your cravings and urges feel pretty hard to say no to a lot of the times, right? So if that's you, this really, really applies to you. So especially if you have your urges at night, I would say fasting is the least thing I would recommend. Like, I couldn't not recommend it more. So a huge part of what builds the foundation for freeing the women from their struggle with food is giving them the fuel they need throughout the day. Now, this isn't the whole picture, but it's a foundational piece of the journey. So even though you might have the opinion that, oh, I'm busy throughout the day, I don't need to eat. As long as I stay busy, I don't need to have food. As long as I'm working out and doing other things, I don't really need it. I don't even get hungry. I have clients tell me this all the time. But then there's this pendulum swing, right? They're not eating. And then when the floodgates open of the eating, legit, the pendulum doesn't just come in the middle for a nice balanced meal. It's like whoosh, ravenous, let's eat it all, and eating. So I see intermittent fasting actually lead to late night and nighttime binge eating and overeating very, very, very often. It puts the brain and body in a state of survival mode if you're not getting what you need and you're not honoring your body in the way that you need to. When a brain is in the state of the survival mode, no matter what your mindset is, what your psychology is, what your commitment is, what your goals are, no matter what, physiologically speaking, your brain drives you to eat more. It drives you to think about food. It drives you to overeat. It has cravings. It has you rationalize why you should eat. And it might sound like weird mental chatter to you, but it's actually your physiology creating messages for your brain to make you eat. And when someone is fasting, maybe for some rare humans this doesn't happen, but for most people, especially if you've struggled with binge eating, this is almost guaranteed to happen. So really, fasting becomes this almost on-track, off-track relationship with food. It creates more cravings and more overeating at night, which is not good for your metabolism and not good for your well-being. You typically wake up bloated and kind of food hungover and not feeling great. We don't want that. And it creates also, I mentioned that on-track, off-track thinking. So I've noticed for people that do intermittent fasting, it gives them an excuse almost to go off track and get back on track. So there's this idea of, oh, I'll just fast longer tomorrow, or I'm just gonna fast or do this thing, which almost permisses and can be used as an excuse to eat more in the moment. So one huge thing about healing your relationship with food is present moment decisions. Like, what do I need at breakfast to support me for my next few hours? What do I need at lunch to support me for my next few hours? Not, I'm not gonna eat breakfast because I get to eat dinner, or I'm not gonna eat lunch because I get to eat dinner. Or I'm not gonna, that's not a balanced, easy relationship with food where you never have to think about it and you just naturally stop when you're satisfied and you feel good and eat healthy food. That's not what leads to that. So a huge part of what leads to that is present moment decisions that are supportive. So I personally hate intermittent fasting. I don't really think that anyone should do it. And I can't say anyone because I think for some people, for their lifestyles or their goals, go for it. But if you're binge eating or overeating and struggling with cravings and your relationship with food is a little wonky and it doesn't feel easy and you don't feel satisfied easily and you can't just stop when you're done and move on without your day, fasting at best is a Band-Aid solution. And it is just gonna kind of handle some of the symptoms versus actually heal your relationship with food where you don't have to struggle with this ever again. And even though it's a Band-Aid for some things, it typically exacerbates the weight, the food, and the overeating and the binge eating struggle. And I don't like it. I don't like it because it disconnects from the present moment, and it has people live in this very on and off track relationship with food. And if you're one of those people that tends to binge or overeat at night with the excuse of I'm going to start over tomorrow, fasting is not a good idea because it's just going to kind of fit in that category. Oh, well, it's okay if I eat more in this window because I'll just fast longer tomorrow. And that is not a healthy, easy, happy, abundant, free relationship with food, right? That's living in diet mentality and having to be in the struggle. So by no means am I saying that intermittent fasting will never work for weight loss or anything like that. But if you want lasting weight loss without dieting, not having to think about this stuff, and a super healthy, easy relationship with food, I am anti-fasting. Don't do it under any circumstances unless it's doctor prescribed. Your doctor is going to know more than me. Maybe. I don't know. Me and my boyfriend fight about this all the time because I tend to think I know more, but I know that they've been to medical school and stuff. But I will say, unless a doctor has taken really specified studies in nutrition, some of their blanket advice is just coming from very high level blanket advice that they've been advised. It's not necessarily tailored to someone's specific body, right? So at the end of the day, you're the authority on you. You get to decide, hey, by the results I'm creating in my life, if I'm binge or overeating at night, even though intermittent fasting sounds like a good plan, the shit isn't working for me. You get to be the authority on you. There's nothing wrong with you if you're having trouble sticking to your fasting window. Maybe that's just a sign that your body is not happy with it. So it's very important you find something that works for you. And if you need help with that, let us know. You know where to find us. Leave me a comment, like this video. Let me know if you've ever experimented with intermittent fasting, tried it. What's been your experience? I would love to hear from you. And as always, below this video, I'll put a link to our a nice training for you. And I think below this video, I'm going to put a link to our craving cards since we talked a lot about craving. So our craving cards, it's free. It's a 5-part demo series where you get little PDFs of what to use in the moment when you have a craving. And I think that'll be really supportive for you. So click that link. Let me know how you like this or if you have any questions. If you need any help, we're here. All right. See you next week.